Alright, you little fucking ambient lings, bruh. You little ambientites, bruh. You can hear birds chirping in the background and shit because my mic is ass. Alright, yeah. Alright, bro. Ambience, bro. First thing is ambience. So, first you gotta know where to get ambiences. So, there's a couple different ways you can get ambience. My original way of getting ambience was just going to samplefocus.com. It's just a website where you can just fucking find shit tons of samples. You can find samples for anything. You can find snares, kicks, whatever. Ambiences. You can even find Memphis vocals on there. You just type in Memphis vocal. Boom. You'll probably find all the basic ass like house and drip funk ones. If you want some real Memphis vocals, you gotta sample them yourself. Alright, this is not about vocals though. It's about ambience, bro. I'm getting carried away. Alright, so Sample Focus is a place, just download it, drag it in, simple. Another way you can get ambience is just to make it. I mean, you can literally use anything as ambience. So, fucking, I don't know, like just take Hive, bro, or any generator that you have. Just fucking, I don't know, just find a generator, make a random ass pattern, bro. Like, it's not gonna matter because ambience is gonna be so distorted and shit. So, like, you can make your own ambience. Another thing here, there's a special plugin here if you want to. So it's 3 times OSC. I know probably a lot of you guys have probably used this for like making kicks and making 808. I think making 808s is what normal people do with this shit, but that's what normal people do with this shit. What a lunatic making ambient can do with this is you just keep clicking randomize until you find until it makes an ambience for you, and it'll make like a marine main style ambience. So sometimes it'll be silent, by the way. So literally just keep clicking randomize. Wow, that sounds cool, bro. Look. You could definitely use that for ambience. Like, dead ass. Literally just. There you go. So, like, you can just play around with generators and stuff, especially generators. Just try everything, bro. Solar is a really good plugin. Try out this. If you don't have these 2 plugins, Serum and Hive. Hive is like the best generator I've ever used. Like deadass. Serum's just useful. I mean, who doesn't have Serum at this point? I have Surge. Surge is a pretty good generator. Holy shit, why is it so massive? Surge is a good generator. A lot of people use like Purity too. I don't have Purity installed, but Purity's really good. I used to have it installed. I don't know, just use generators. Another way, the most basic way to find ambience is look through your drum kits, bro. Just look through anything. Like if I go to my funk drum kits, I don't know, like Evil Raw or something, go to samples. Like, you could turn any of this into ambience. Like you can turn this into ambience. What's really good if you're trying to make like OG ambient is find like one of those dark like horror style Memphis ambiences. I don't know if there's any in here, but like something like the Play a Hater sample or some shit. Like you can use any of this shit. Like literally just go through. Like this right here. Like this old horror, like this horror style. I like to call it like horror Memphis kind of shit. Like it's like Memphis, but the samples remind you of like one of those like old ass horror slasher movies, like Friday the 13th or something. Like that shit's perfect for like some OG ambient. Um, and then the last method I can think of for making ambience is just use your voice. I'm serious. Just like this is what I've been doing lately. Hook up your mic like this. blah, 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 blah. Like this. Record your voice. Just like moan or some yell. Ah! Like this. Literally just yell. Watch, I'm gonna fucking cut off the first part while I was talking. See, I'm yelling. Okay, this is the plugin you want to use. You want to use Fruity Convolver. And just put like blur pink or blur white on it. Like, just like mix it a little bit or some shit, you know? Just fucking stretch it or something. I don't know. Like, dude, you can't tell me that's not fire ambience. Or just like, instead of yelling, just moan into the mic. Be like, that sounds really good too. Or try vocal droning, like, that stuff sounds really good. I can show you right here. This project right here, the ambience is my voice. So, put a load here. The ambience is just my voice on this song. Like, this is just my voice. Using the same method I just used. So, like, and it sounds good. I don't know. Using your voice will get you like the boosted style ambiences. My style. I like using vocal droning ambiences, like just vocal droning, I guess. So like you can make your own vocal droning ambience. Because I would always have a hard time trying to find vocal drone ambience, because that's what I like to use. That's like my style, right? It's like that, just that reverb ass vocal drone. You can't really find that shit. It's hard to look for. So I found a way to make my own. Alright. So let's see. Let's just find a random ass ambient so I can just show you how to do stuff with it. Trying to find a good one that would be good for example. Alright, perfect. This one's a little bit loud. Let me just turn it down. Alright, so the first thing you want to do with your ambience once you get it in here is if you have any shit like this, like, try to cut it off. It's not, you don't have to worry too much about this because the ambient should be reverbed and distorted, like, heavily, so, like, even if it doesn't loop perfectly, it's not gonna, you're not gonna notice it because it's just gonna be reverbed so hardcore. It's gonna be distorted so hardcore. So, like, if your ambience doesn't loop perfectly, you shouldn't really need to worry about that because it's gonna be distorted to fucking hell and all that shit. So like here's the ambience. Alright, next you wanna make sure you get the BPM right. So once you have it like this, right here, you're gonna go to mode and you're gonna go to stretch right here. Change the mode to stretch, because now you can just turn up this like that and it's gonna keep the pitch. Like it'll keep the original pitch. The pitch before you stretched it. Now you can actually play with this pitch. So now if I want to pitch it down, maybe pitch it up. Now you can add variation to your ambient. So another thing you can do, put another one in here. You're gonna click this little thing right here, and you're gonna click make unique, and it's just gonna make another one of these. If you like, I used to do it like where you would right click it and hit clone, but then when you clone it, it comes out like this where it's not like cut up or anything like you want it to be. So just make unique. You'll just copy it as it is. So yeah, just paste another one in here and make it unique. Now another thing you can do is some like octave layering. I don't really know how to word this, so like your usual one you're gonna keep at 0, and you're gonna put your second one. So 1200 cents is a whole octave. So from C5 to C6, for example, like if you go in here from C5 to C6, this is an entire octave. There's 1200 cents in between here. Each note is 100 cents. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 1200 cents. So if your pitch is at 0 right here, to get it up an octave, put it up to 1200. Just put it all the way up. And then what you can do is you can do another one, make unique. And then for this one, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pitch it all the way down 1200 cents. It doesn't really change the way this one sounds, but a lot of like the more vocal ones like I was talking about will definitely like benefit from you doing this. I wouldn't do that. Don't do this on every track. This is more situational, whether you should do this or not. It's just play. The biggest thing about ambient is playing it by ear. If it sounds good, do it. If it doesn't sound good, don't do it. Like, there's not really a lot of rules to ambient besides drum patterns, I guess. So, like, play around with the shit. If it doesn't sound good, don't do it. If it sounds good, do it. Like, I don't care if no one's ever done it before or if it's not in the ambient rule book or some shit. If it sounds good, just do it. That's the whole point of ambient. Ambient is, like, supposed to be an experimental genre. Another thing you can do, really simple, but a lot of people forget about, just reverse the sample. Sometimes this sounds really good. Especially if you use, like, some of those jazzy samples that I was showing you. Dude, just reversing the sample will make it sound 100 times better. For this one, obviously, it's not going to sound any different because it's just a straight, like, white noise. But reversing your sample, don't forget about that. Another thing is just normal pitching. If you just have one of these, you know, just play around with the pitch. A lot of time, ambiences be too high or they be too low. Like, play around with the pitch. Play around with it. So for mixing, ambiences, I don't know, let's put this in the mixer. So the number one most important thing you have to do for your ambience, in my opinion, I can't speak for all the other ambient producers. This is just, these tutorials are more about like how I make ambient. So like, don't get mad if you don't do this or some shit. Like, this is just how I make ambient. So everything I do for every single ambience is I cut the low end off. So you go to 40 parametric EQ and you're gonna go to presets and there's gonna be 40 hertz cut right here. Drag this up to like low mid. You see the line that comes down from low mid? You wanna drag it to there. The reason this is so important for mixing, a lot of you guys don't do this, and the reason this is so important for mixing is because it makes it sound muddy. When you have too much low ends mixed together, it makes it sound muddy. The only low end on your track should be your kick and your 808. That's it. That should be the only low end on your track. Everything else needs to get cut out. Your hi-hats, your open hats, your snare, your fucking vocals, your ambience, none of that should have any low end on it. Your snare might have like a little bit of like right here, for, like for punchiness, but that's about it. Everything else should be cut up to like low mid. Your vocals can go back a little bit too with the snare. But that's more situational on your vocal. But nothing on your track besides your 808 or kick should be past this bass line right here. The middle of bass right here, nothing. There should be no frequencies behind here, unless it's your 808 or your kick. Those are the only two frequencies, or the only two instruments that should have frequencies below mid bass. So definitely cut this shit off. And then put another one down here. So the reason you're gonna put another one down here is because ambient is all about distorting shit, right? Ambient is all about distorting shit and then making it sound good. So the way that you make distortion sound good is you either EQ the distortion or you compress it. And I'll talk about compression if I do like a master mixing video, because that's where compression will come in. So if you're trying to mix your master, you want to compress it. So a lot of you either get too much compression or too much distortion. You need to balance it out. Usually new gens, too much distortion, not enough compression. You want to make it distorted, but you want to make it sound clean, which is one of the hardest things to do, which is why ambient is so hard to mix, which I understand why all of you guys suck at mixing it, because like having something distorted and having something clean at the same time, it just like doesn't really go together. So it's like a contradiction. But yeah, the way to do that is compression. Now for the ambience, when you cut off the lows, it kind of sounds dry almost. Let me like boost the volume back up. What I do is just add distortion of any kind. You can add Fruity Billy Overdrive. Don't be scared to use plug. don't be scared to use plugins. If people tell you like Sound Good Eyes is trash or Bloody Overdrive's trash or ooh use fast distortion, I'm like, don't listen to that shit, bro. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you do. There's no rules to ambient. Just make it sound good. So Bloody Overdrive is a great plugin. You can play around with Destructor. Destructor is a good plugin. My personal favorite for ambiences in particular is a fast distortion. It's just fast distortion. It's easy to use. Like it's easy to learn. Like play around. Another thing with ambient, play around with the plugins. Like don't be stop using presets and shit. Like just play around with the plugin, dude. See what each of the knobs do. Learn what all the knobs do. I'm still in the process of doing this too. Like I don't even know what Keller does. What the fuck does Keller do on Bloody Overdrive? I don't know. Right? I don't play with the Keller knob. I just play with I use the pre-band knob and the preamp knob. And sometimes I use this little clicker thing here. Destructor is really good for just anything. I mean, they have so many different things, and then each thing has more things. Like, yeah, Bit Crush, Wave Folder, like all this. So Destructor is definitely a plugin you want to play around with. But just for some basic distortion, dude, the most basic distortion, just put Fruity Fastest on. Don't even change it. Just click the A/B knob. Just click it to B. There you go. Literally done. You're done. Now, the reason I put another parametric EQ here is because, like here, if I turn this off, after I distort it, watch these low ends. These low ends will come back. So, you know how we cut the low ends out? Well, after we distort it, the distortion's going to put low ends back in. So, what we need to do, see, there's low end again. Now we turn this on, and look, see, it's back away. So you need to add another EQ to cut the recut the low ends out. Another thing for ambiences, add like reverb. Great plugins is obviously Fruity Reverb, Fruity Convolver, and a lot of people don't know, but delay counts as reverb. Like you don't have to use reverb and be boring. You can use delay and shit too. Like. Like, you don't have to just be boring and use reverb. You can use delay too. Another thing is like stereo or monoing your ambience. So this depends on what style you're making. Usually you want to stereo your ambience. So stereo is like, okay, to explain stereo and mono is stereo is gonna make it sound like it's wider in your ears. Like, okay, stereo is going to make it sound like it's to the left and right of you, whereas mono is going to kind of make it sound like where it's in front of you. So mono is like here, I'll just play with it. This little knob right here plays with stereo, but another way, if it helps you see better, put a stereo enhancer on right here. This knob, this is mono. This is stereo. They do sound a bit different. These are not the exact same knobs, so they are different stereo plugins. So this would be mono. So putting it to the right is mono. So merging. If you look in the top left, you can also see. I don't know if any of you guys know this shit. Probably. I'm probably just yapping. But in the top left, there's a hint panel. By the way, that shows you the percentage that the knob's at and what it's doing. Remember that's there. So merged is mono. So this is going to make it sound like it's kind of collapsed in and in front of you. Now, if I go to the left, this is separated or stereo. It's going to sound wider in my ears. So I'll just kind of play it and move it slowly. Look. It's not really that noticeable on this ambience, but it's definitely still noticeable. I would say usually you're gonna stereo your ambience because you want it to be like a wide soundscape, right? You want your ambience to be like this wide soundscape that just kind of like is the back layer for the entire track. Like that's the whole point of ambience. So usually you're gonna stereo. The only instance I can think of maybe monoing it is if it just needs to be mono because the sample is the way it is, or if you're making like a more Memphis style or a more sometimes like an OG style ambient, you're gonna want to mono it instead. But like I said, just like it applies to everything, just play it by ear. There's not really any rules to ambient. You just fucking You just fucking do whatever sounds good. So just play with it. I think that's all there is really for mixing ambience. There isn't really much to mixing an ambience. It's kind of just sound dynamics rather than mixing. And then my last bonus tip for you is just to add a second ambience, you know? Sometimes this sounds good. Sometimes it sounds really bad. Don't always do this, because sometimes it sounds like shit. But I don't know, just take another ambience and try layering it on top. Or some shit, I don't know. Just play around. It's ambient, experiment, play around. Do whatever sounds good. But yeah, that's all I got.